Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Zenput platform webinar, specifically focused on the work that we do with multi-unit operators and their store teams. We'll give everybody just a minute or two more to hop in. There's still a couple of folks joining, so we'll get started in just a minute. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So again, thank you all so much for attending today. We at Zenput are always really excited to get the opportunity to present and speak with operators across a variety of industries. So appreciate the time. I know it's a busy time of year, so appreciate everyone joining today. For just a brief round of introductions, my name is Rob Shell, and I help lead our go-to-market teams here, and specifically working with a lot of our customers in the multi-unit operators space across the restaurant, convenience store, grocery, and retail industries. So again, very excited to walk you all through an overview of the platform today. And today, we're actually going to take a very specific approach and focus on the experience that our team members at our locations, whether it be down in the restaurant or at our convenience store or grocery store, the experience that they have throughout the day when it comes to executing on all of the things that it takes to provide a great customer experience, what we've seen and how that's changed over the last 8 months to a year, and what kind of operators are doing about these changes and what their kind of plans are for next year. So again, very excited. Before we launch into the actual product, I thought it'd be helpful just to give you guys some context on Zenput, who we are and where we focus. So for those of you that do not know, Zenput's been around for the last 8 years in really working with this multi-unit operator space across our kind of 3 core industries, the restaurant space, the grocery space, and the convenience store industries. And in that 8 years of time, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of operators to really help them kind of solve some of the key challenges that really everybody in these industries is having to deal with these days, and especially a lot of these challenges have been heightened in 2020 and all of the challenges that this year has brought. So to give you some idea on a lot of the reasons our customers kind of come to us and start looking for operations execution platform solutions, is there's really some core challenges that everyone is dealing with right now. A big one, as I'm sure everyone on the call can attest to, is some of the just general challenges that operators face when it comes to adapting to current market conditions. With the coronavirus outbreak and everything that's happened in 2020 from consumer expectations and behavior, adapting has been a big challenge, right? Many of you may have had to entirely shift business models to takeout and delivery. Others may have had to ramp up those pieces and exclusively go to those outlets. And then, of course, there's a whole bunch of procedures and things that that our operators are having to do today that they necessarily didn't have to do yesterday. And what most operators find is it can be really, really challenging for them to adapt quickly. It takes time to kind of roll out new procedures and change business models. And so there's been a real challenge with kind of overall agility in the space. And that's something that technology can absolutely address. The other pieces that flow into that are this kind of heightened sense that we've all seen around customer and employee safety. With the requirements around PPE and sanitation procedures, it can be very hard for team members down in the restaurant or in your store locations to keep up with all of the different regulations and things that they need to do to keep themselves safe and their guests safe. And then generally across the board, any multi-unit operator probably has some issues generally around getting what they would call, I think, a fair amount of visibility around what's happening execution-wise in their locations. A lot of team members, especially in the field management side, may be grounded or have been grounded for several months. It's hard for everyone to be everywhere at once. And so, gaining this visibility that they need so badly to ensure proper guest standards and operational standards is a real challenge. So all of these things are very common, and really where Zenput helps is kind of bringing to the forefront for operators two main priorities that we see people interested in. The first is becoming more agile as an organization, and especially when it comes to managing their store or restaurant operations. Agility means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but I think everyone would agree that finding new and better ways to deploy strategies quicker, get our teams up to speed with those strategies and procedures at a faster rate will have a huge impact on the customer experience and our employee experience. So bringing that agility to the forefront is a big focus, while obviously still maintaining and even raising the bar on the quality of work that's being done. Just because things are difficult and challenging, we still want to make sure that our guest experience is top notch. So focusing and doubling down on the quality of work being done and prioritizing things like productivity in the restaurants or in your stores. Now, these are general kind of high-level pieces that Zenput as an organization has worked tirelessly over the last couple of years to focus on. Today, I really want to kind of highlight something that we hear a lot of our customers talk about today, and a lot of prospects that are facing some of these challenges, which is this kind of general re-examination of their team member experience down at the physical brick and mortar locations themselves. Again, with a lot of teams that have had to maybe cut down on staff or are running much more lean than they normally do, with all of this added focus and pressure on stores to maintain safety and sanitation, there's a lot of stuff that's on our team members' plate now that there wasn't, a year or so ago. And even on top of that, right, this is all in addition to the core things that they need to get done every single day to do their jobs effectively and provide a great customer experience. So we've seen a lot of brands and organizations really start to refocus on how do we put our team members first and make sure that we're doing everything that we can from an enablement perspective to make their jobs easier. And technology is a big driver, and Zenput is a big driver for how they're doing that. So there's a couple of key areas I'll walk you guys through today. But first and foremost, it comes, it starts with kind of general communication and simplifying and kind of standardizing communication between home office, field teams down to the actual store teams when it comes to providing really critical updates. If we're rolling out a brand new sanitation procedure or updates to our COVID response program, being able to communicate those really effectively is critical to getting the job done right. Even still, looking forward into 2021, as we make even some tactical changes to things like our operating standards, our food safety standards, that communication is going to be extra critical in simplifying and streamlining that. And that's an area where we focus that I know a lot of operators are struggling with. Many may be using a wide variety of tools, including email, text message. For those of you with Post-it notes, right? We get it. We understand it's tough to do. The second piece is actually just understanding what ways can we introduce technology and operations execution systems to make our team members' jobs easier on the things that they have to get done, whether this be operational standards, food safety checks, or even things like marketing validations. These are things that are necessary that the teams have to do, but it certainly isn't their job to get checklists and logs done. Their job is to provide a great customer experience. So everything that we can do to make their jobs easier when it comes to getting these things done, save them time so they can repurpose that for coaching and training other employees and providing the best experience that they can. And the last piece that obviously technology and Zenput hopes to bring is better equipping teams that may be lean or smaller than they normally are to get more done with less. And one key way we can do that is the introduction of automation, whether it be through making simple tasks and processes like a cooler temperature check totally automated by using things like IoT devices, or maybe it's even streamlining communication up the chain in an automated fashion. We really want to focus on making that process as easy as possible. Again, so we're saving a ton of time and increasing the speed of information across the organization. So while we're really going to be hyper-focused on overall store performance, how technology and specifically how Zenput can help your store teams operate at the highest level, this is just a kind of piece that we focus on from an overall platform perspective. So we understand that while store execution is really the foundational element for success, your store teams need to operate at a high level if you as an organization are going to operate at a high level. But it's certainly not the only piece that goes in to play in that. So the way that we look at our platform and Zenput specifically is by managing all of the critical work that needs to get done across multiple different teams. Today we'll be hyper focused on store performance. So all of the critical day-to-day logs that you may be doing in Redbook or pen and paper, or maybe very specific store level technology, right? How do we make that simplified? How do we alert teams when work needs to get done and make that easy? That's what we refer to as task management, and I'll dive in through that. How do we help them escalate maybe incidents or ad hoc things that happen in the store? And how can we use IoT to really boost efficiency and maybe even take away some manual processes, whether it be using things like remote temperature monitoring or even digitizing the food prep labeling process, getting away of day dots and automatically calculating things like expiration dates with technology are great ways that you can save time. But that's certainly just a piece we'll focus on. We obviously, from a platform perspective, also understand the importance of field work. So all of the audits and subsequent corrective actions that go into managing store performance, that's a really critical part and layer of Zenput, being able to take that same technology used at the store, bring it to your field teams, give them better visibility and communication tools to manage. And then obviously at the home office, being able to roll out new SOPs or make updates to SOPs and track compliance and performance across a wide variety of different locations, all from a single platform. That's really our entire goal. So all of these three pieces work together to form Zenput. And today we'll really just be focusing on the store performance piece, but understanding that this is a piece of the pie that we really focus on. So that was a quick intro to kind of who we are and where we focus. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual platform here. So before we get started, it's really critical to note that there's effectively two different core components to our core Zenput platform. The first component is what you see here. This is our mobile application. And this is really where your restaurant, your store teams will live in their day-to-day. This is the single place I go to understand what work needs to get done, the single place I go to actually execute on that work, and a great place to go to understand where do I have an opportunity for improvement, coaching, training, analytics, and of course, communication with your direct teams. And then the second component is actually the management side of the tool, which we'll spend a tiny bit of time here, but understanding that there's a lot more capabilities here. This is typically used at the home office level for a wide variety of reporting, actually managing the account, and rolling out new procedures. But as I mentioned, today is all about how do we make your store teams' lives easier. And so that's really going to focus on our mobile application. So the mobile app of Zenput is really going to reflect what your specific goals and initiatives are by giving you this kind of a tailored view based on who's logged in, what your role is in the organization. So I'm showing you two different views of the mobile app. On my iPad here on the left, you'll see this is a store level login. In this case, I'm restaurant 1379 or store 79. And this is where I'm going to live in my day-to-day, again, to understand what tasks need to get done, prioritize my day as I go through, and actually execute on work. On the right, I'm as a district manager that is above this store location. So I have tasks that I have due personally throughout the week or throughout the day, but I can, in this case, see into store 1379's work as well as the rest of my district. So this is very helpful layout. We want to empower not only your store teams, but also your field teams with all of this information through a single application, one place to go. Today we'll start really on the store level side, on the left-hand side. So there's a couple of key things, as I mentioned in the intro slide, that we'll walk through here, all with the goal of making the jobs of our teams easier. And the first and foremost of that is the communication of work. We really believe in the ability to easily assign work out at scale. Assignment of work to us is really important because it's going to alert your teams to drive the right behavior and action at the right times throughout the day. Many of you that operate locations know, there's a billion different things that I need to do throughout the day. Things get missed. It's a very hectic environment. And so everything that my organization can do to help me streamline and prioritize is going to be absolutely critical. And that's why the very first thing that we display on our summary page is the work that is assigned to your store location. So I have an instant kind of insight into the tasks that I have due. And I can quickly log in here and understand the tasks that I have that are both due today, as well as maybe things that I have due in the future. So understanding not only what work I need to get done, but also prioritize by due dates and when these things need to get done is incredibly helpful. So for those of you that have a ton of different food safety, HACCP logs, operational checks, things like manager walkthroughs, opening checklists, pre-rush ready checks, all of these things need to be done at certain points throughout the day. And in a pen and paper world or less sophisticated technology, that's really hard to do. And it doesn't help your store managers at all if there's nothing helping me prioritize my day. So when we assign work out, we actually assign work out at not only on daily or weekly cadences, but also at certain time frames. So if I had an opening temp log that I needed to do between, let's say, 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., being able to prioritize my day by these due dates is very, very effective for me in understanding what work do I need to get done now, and then how do I structure my day in the afternoon to make sure that we cover all of these before second shift starts. So understanding that at a general task level goes a really long way in helping your team members keep track of everything that needs to get done. I'll show you a simple kind of task here. A lot of the work that we assign out are things like checklists and logs, basically the kind of digital versions of the logs that those teams are already doing today. In this case, I have a very simple HACCP log that you all probably are very familiar with, regardless of the industry. This could be food, food checks and HACCP checks if you're in a restaurant industry or in the grocery space, or even in the convenience store space. If you do fresh food, you do these all the time, or you're doing a lot of equipment temperature checks. So the ability to kind of bring these into my system makes it very simple for my store to walk around with our tablet, go ahead and start to complete this information and fill this work out as I'm going around actually doing the job, not running back and forth between the home office or the back office, excuse me. One piece that we really want to focus on as well is making sure that we're identifying any issues and logging this work, not just getting it done, but getting it done well. And one critical way that we do that is by kind of guided dependencies based on the responses of our teams. So in an example of a temp log, right, if I'm a brand new team member, I just got food safe certified, a couple of weeks ago, and I come in and I temp our taco meat and it's only 90 degrees, right? In that case, right, in a pen and paper world or even digital logging, oftentimes this may just get missed, right? We're supposed to know, but the reality is in a hectic environment and with a lot of new store employees, maybe this is not done, or if it's done, we have no idea what the corrective action is here. So our team tries to be very dynamic with these to help guide the store's team members through this process. If there's an issue with something as critical as food safety temperature, then we can actually go ahead and prompt some sort of corrective action to be taken place, where I'm actually not only prompted, but I can actually record what happened. In a lot of cases of food safety incidents, it's not necessarily that the temperature is out of range. That's the problem inherently. If we go solve it, it's fine. If we don't solve it or don't log what happened, that's when people start to get into trouble and open up themselves to risk. So making sure that we're helping prompt the right action, so we're keeping our customers and our guests safe at all times, is really helpful. But taking all of the guesswork and kind of brain power out of it from the team members, I don't have to think about the standards. The system is going to let me know. You'll also notice some efficiency gains in terms of connection with things like IoT technology. So I mentioned things like remote temperature sensors, but Zenput has a lot of our customers that are looking to take something like a HACCP log or a temperature log and speed that information up. So if I go, do a normal temp log on pen and paper today, it may take me 15 to 30 minutes to get through the make line. If I have a Bluetooth enabled thermometer and I'm probing this temperature and it's automatically sending the temperatures back to Zenput and logging them in, then that's much better. So I can actually start to incorporate, if I had a Bluetooth thermometer, I would just click the enable button here, and then those temperatures would stream directly into my HACCP log. So it's a really, really great way to not only get accurate data, but make sure that we're driving efficiency. If that takes 30 minutes in pen and paper, can we take 20 minutes to get it done just as well, but faster? These are all very straightforward. Now, the other benefit of some of the automation is we can go ahead and include certain things like alerts up the chain if there's really critical issues identified in the system. For example, if there were expired product and we needed to send an alert to our district manager and maybe our food safety manager, we have the ability to escalate alerts based on responses that don't require any extra work from your restaurant or your store teams. If I mark that there's some sort of exception here, I can take all the necessary information, submit this information, and have the Zenput system automatically alert the people that need to get alerted right away. So very, very helpful for saving time, but also increasing the speed of information. I don't have to do anything. I mark the information that needs to get escalated, and the system will take care of the rest. This is a very simple example of a lot of the work that stores may be doing, checking things like equipment or food safety logs. We also have more kind of operational heavy pieces as well for things like an opening checklist, right? Being able to do things like capture photos is a really critical piece to coaching and training. For example, if I need to provide verification of, let's say, our lights being on and operational, then I can simply add images directly through our application. Store managers or shift leads can even annotate on this, so I can provide verification back up the chain. But in the event that maybe there was an issue with something at the restaurant and I wanted my teams to be aware of it. Maybe I'm coming in for second shift and I want the first shift manager to understand what the issue is. Being able to provide things like photos of maybe areas that need to be corrected is a great way to manage the communication. I'm not just letting my team know the bathroom was dirty. I could show them here's the particular areas that we want to address and get fixed. So these are all highly configurable to the processes your restaurant teams or your store teams are running today. But again, in a very streamlined version and allowing you to do things like better communication through things like photos and videos, as well as general kind of coaching and guiding if there are any issues, making sure that the correct actions have been taken. So in terms of managing the day-to-day, again, this is a really big piece of how we can help prioritize all of the checklists and tasks and things that need to get done throughout the day. But we certainly understand that there are cases that, something happens in the restaurant or in my store that I'm never going to be able to assign out. Something like a customer slip and fall. If a customer gets injured at our location, it's about to be winter time. I know a lot of you in the Midwest and Northeast have to worry about this all the time, right? Making sure that our sidewalks are shoveled and that salt is put out on the entryways. If there ever is some sort of incident, we also give stores the ability to collect kind of ad hoc information and escalate up the chain. So in addition to prioritizing the tasks, we also can make a whole host of forms available. In this case, if I had a customer injury report that I needed to submit, rather than going through my normal process, which is probably pen and paper, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a text, very hard to track, very hard to make sure that these things are collected properly. I have a form in the same place that I'm going to for all of my standard operating procedures. And I can go ahead and start to insert a whole host of information here that may be required. I can do things like add images and add photos. In this case, there is a dog inside, right outside of my restaurant or a convenience store that probably needs to get taken care of. So in this case, right, I'm able to capture a lot of really good information. And then again, automation on the back end allows us to, as a store team, I can submit that information. And on the right-hand side, my district manager immediately is going to get an alert here that there was a customer injury reported at store 1379 today, October 28th at 1:27 p.m. And so instant communication with your team allows your DMs or your home office teams not only the ability to get this information in real time, but we also provide a lot of information here that is two-way. So as a district manager, I may have some questions around what's actually going on. In that case, I can also go ahead and comment directly to my store. Send out some communication, and my store team will immediately get an alert. My district manager has then asked me for some more information here. So rather than managing communication and the actual submission of work through all of these different channels, it makes it very easy as a shift lead or whoever is managing at that shift. All of the critical work that needs to get done and critical communication can be managed all throughout the same platform. Everyone's in the loop, everyone understands exactly what happened, and we're facilitating all of this through the same place that they're used to tracking all of their critical work in a day in and day out scenario. So not only managing kind of the day-to-day tasks, but also this kind of critical escalation of information up the chain is really, really important to going a long way to making your lives of your team members a lot easier in the day-to-day work. So we certainly understand, especially from a GM's perspective as well, it's not all just about, the work that I need to get done today for this week, even things, in the future. There's a lot of really good information that we're now utilizing within the platform. And I myself want to become a better coach and a better trainer at the GM level And so we can start to use this information that's being collected here to help facilitate that, make your team members, give them information that makes it easier for them to get work done. And so by doing things like aggregating important information around overall completion rates, at any point in time, I can check in how we're doing on all the critical work that needs to get done. You know, as an example, if I see we're starting to slip on our completion of daily temp logs, right, I can break that down and understand what's happening, you know, shift by shift to cause this issue, and start to address that so we can work to get our completion rates up and make sure that we're doing all the things we need to do in a timely manner. The other piece that we look at is more qualitative information. So if I wanted to see on, let's say, our brand standards audit that my district manager does at my store location, you know, on a monthly basis, where are we getting dinged the most? Where are kind of common problems? Something like our frequently answered no card right on the summary page for a GM or for a shift lead goes a long way in helping them understand not just is the work getting done, but where's the quality of this work being driven. So in this case, I can look at our brand standards audit that you guys may be self-assessing on, or your DMs are assessing you on, and get really critical information. In this case, I can see, you know, over the past month when we've had our audits done or weekly checks with our DMs, we've had some real issues with cleanliness, both in the bathrooms and on the outside of our store location, to the tune of really 67% of the time we get these done, you know, we've had some issues here. So as a GM, as a shift manager, I can really quickly take this information and start to understand this is an area where I may need to retrain or recoach some employees that I know may have a different standard of what cleanliness is in their mind versus what, you know, our company standard is. I can start to curb some of this bad behavior or incentivize my team to do, you know, to do better in these areas. So it's not just always about is the work getting done at a satisfactory level. We also want to highlight the quality for your store teams, so they're able to better coach and train their employees and overall increase the execution levels of work at your restaurant or at your store location. Critical tools from a reporting perspective. Obviously, we also understand many of you may be coming from a pen and paper world or you know, a red book world where you're very used to being able to just walk into the back office, pull up that red book or that binder of pen and paper, and going through and seeing that the work was actually done. And so we certainly value the ability to kind of check back for GMs that may be out for a couple of days on holiday, coming back and being able to look at something like a recurring view, which is going to show this calendar style view, is tremendously helpful. Even on my day off, if I wanted to look at this, right, I can start to see we're doing pretty good, but for some reason on the 21st, 22nd, 24th, and 25th, we missed all of our logs for this day. And it's very clear and apparent to me. So from the reporting perspective, we're going to give you that visibility and access into all of your kind of data as it comes to execution in a really simple, easy way. Make it easy for your GMs or an auditor or your district managers, whoever's coming in to look at this and understand, was work done, was it not? And then of course, to what level? Are we seeing very low kind of examples of critical issues? Are these on the rise? And that helps me coach and train overall for my team. So there's a lot of this that kind of plays into the day-to-day, not just getting the work done, but providing these insights that are really, really helpful. We even want to give visual insights as well. So being able to understand things like a gallery view and see all the photos that have been taken at my location is really, really helpful to kind of get eyes into my store, even on days maybe that I wasn't there. Now, the last piece I want to kind of talk about in the day-to-day for our store teams, we talked a little bit about communication as it comes to being able to understand as work is assigned out. You will get push notifications on your device and will alert you that work needs to get done. We've talked a little bit about communication, especially between field and restaurant or store team members as they may communicate back and forth with their field leadership or their district manager or their regional manager through things like commenting. But another piece that is extra important, I think, in today's world is just generalized communication that's very relevant and timely for stores to understand as well. So being able to communicate not necessarily tasks, but information that's important for all of your stores to understand is another critical piece that we want to make that streamlined for your teams. The same place I go to communicate with my DM or my field staff and I get my task done is now the same place where I can go to receive critical announcements from my home office. In this case, we have a notification section where teams are able to send out critical information, and whether it be individual comments, or in this case, right, I have an unopened notification from my home office that I'm in an area where the National Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning for our area today. So I need to make sure that all my team is up to date on the latest process for damages and damage reporting, and make sure that everyone stays safe. This is really critical information that I need to know, and it's delivered to me directly through the application that I'm using in kind of day in and day out. So being able to get really timely information, even if it's not necessarily task driven, is absolutely a critical component to making sure that your team members have an easy place to go to really understand and prioritize all of the work they need to get done throughout the day. So I hope this kind of gives everyone a pretty good understanding of the day in and day out of restaurant teams, how they're leveraging this. Just from a sheer kind of technical perspective, you know, our application is a native app for iOS, Android, and Windows devices. So many of you may already leverage tablets for things like your LMS or line busting. And oftentimes, you know, the Zenput application just sits on a tablet at that restaurant location. It's always logged in, so no matter who's working that shift or who's working that day, the tablet is always there. It's pinging all of this critical information and available to whoever needs it. So our goal is there to be kind of this constant connection to your stores, allowing you to communicate when it's really necessary, and of course, allowing your teams to get work done whenever they need to. So I'll wrap really quickly with just kind of a preview of some of the other critical, the other second critical component to the platform, which is our web-based application. Now, this is not something that we make available for restaurant team members. This is typically leveraged by the home office. But it's a really great way to kind of aggregate, make sense, get visibility around not just one single store location like store 1379, but really understand overall across all of my 50, 100, 1,000 locations, how we're executing across the board. So our web management platform provides things like our heartbeat dashboard view, which gives you kind of a snapshot in time of how we're executing and how well we're doing as an organization, both from kind of quantitative metrics like how many tasks, what our completion rates generally are week over week, or across specific logs and things that we do. But again, also on the qualitative aspect. So I know some of my stores like 1379 have very big problems with cleanliness. So not entirely strange to me to see that this might be actually a company-wide problem. So as an operator, being able to understand, are there outliers? Is it just store 1379 that's struggling, or are there kind of things across the board that we need to maybe retrain on or focus as a brand, as an organization? Is really, really helpful. A lot of the work that you saw driven from the mobile application is actually managed on this back end as well. So I talked about the really high importance of being able to assign work out really at any type of cadence. Again, you guys are going to, all of our customers have the ability to roll out any SOP, whether it be one time, something that recurs daily throughout the week, and get a live time read across all of their locations on when their stores out in the field are getting these items done. If I want to take a look at one of the brand standards, our audits our district managers did, I have full access to be able to gain information and insights into that data here. regardless of whether a store team is filling that out or if it's one of our field team members. It's the one place to go. I now don't have to go to my stores physically to collect red books or get an understanding of is that work getting done. I have all of that access instantly as the work is done here from this backend portal. And then of course we wrap everything up in a really nice, easy way of reporting. So I can even start to break this down on a trending perspective. How we're doing on our audits month over month, how are we doing on our food safety checks month over month, year over year, week over week. So we can actually judge the effectiveness and quality of the work that the procedures and the changes that we're making organization-wide are having on the guest and customer experience, and are we mitigating all of the risk that we can. So great way to assign work out, great way to report on it, and of course, great way to communicate out. These announcement features, as I mentioned, can be driven from the top down. I can easily see, on our flash flood warning that I sent out today, I've received one open. I can go in and actually see who's visited this, and so we can communicate and even resend these out to the people that maybe have missed it. So again, much better way of communicating instead of text, emails, a combination of phone calls, and all of the above. You really want to make this as easy as possible. One single place to assign it out, get the work done, or understand what information is being sent out, and then of course report on compliance and tracking. So there's a lot more to this website of the platform, but did want to give you guys a little bit of preview on kind of the full circle of how all of this flows together, generated from the top down or from the field level, and how that interacts with your stores on a day-to-day basis. So with that really kind of concludes the overview of Zenput with a hyper focus on how we work to use technology as a way to make your store teams more effective. I know we have a few minutes left, so we will go ahead and open up the floor for any questions, comments, or concerns, and things that you guys may want to chat further about. So while these are coming in, it looks like we have one question around the timeliness of notifications. So in terms of notifications, it's a great question. So how quick is this information passed out? How are our stores being alerted? As you probably saw in a couple of different views, we leverage a variety of different notifications, whether it's push notifications, text, emails, to make sure that we're making it very clear and available that the stores have work that they need to get done. So I'll send a quick example to our store 1379 here. All of those alerts are delivered in real time. And so the team will be notified based on their settings. Typically, most restaurants are, getting work assigned out and notifications coming through via push notification, like you see here. I just assigned this task out, and immediately my store has a task that needs to go out. So all of that communication, whether it's going down the chain to the store or up the chain via alerts to your home office or to your field teams, is passed in real time, and it's available, again, a variety of different communication methods: email, text, push notifications, or even email and push notification combos. We also have a second question here around integration capabilities, specifically with HRIS systems. And so I'll talk generally kind of about the way that we approach integrations and kind of connections with other systems. So Zenput provides open API access for our customers to be able to leverage the information and data that is in Zenput with maybe other systems and existing processes that you already have today. And so while we're providing an open access, I'll kind of go through maybe the two most common use cases. The first common use case is to connect the data via API with other systems that you may have in place. Most commonly, it's things like BI tools or some tool that's kind of aggregating data. So we can set information up from Zenput to push directly out to those systems. You can start to use things like BI tools to compare execution data from Zenput with things like sales data from your POS system, or maybe other information that may be housed in, say, an HRIS in that case. The second most common integration points are from a user and location management hierarchy perspective. So we have integrations with things like single sign-on, or your methods of managing user and location information, things like Active Directory, et cetera. So you can automate the process of managing users in our system and making sure that they're securely logging in. So those are kind of the two most common methods. But yeah, we have the ability to integrate with in several different capacities. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and the question is regarding some of the biggest impact. How has this changed the way that your store teams operate from pen and paper to going Zenput? It's a great question. It's hard to kind of pinpoint one specific kind of big change or big outcome that we've seen, and so I think I'll probably focus the answer to that question in twofold. I think one big thing that I think your teams will make, making the transition to Zenput has an immediate impact is efficiency. Again, if something in Excel or in the back office or pen and paper takes me, a process might take me 20, 30 minutes to kind of record, log all of the information, send email copies about these things. Typically, there's really good and strong points there around efficiency that we gain from a platform perspective. So cutting down time that it takes to do a standard operating procedure while ensuring a higher level of quality is something that all of your GMs and shift leads and store team members, I think, will appreciate and have a big impact on their day-to-day. If if a system like Zenput can save me an hour a day on some of these tasks, right, that builds up really, really quickly over my week, over my month, over my quarter, and over my year. So that's a very immediate impact. And then I think the other piece outside of efficiency is just overall productivity. Nothing about pen and paper or back office logs is ever going to scream and let you know, hey, it's time to go do this, and it's time to do it now. Here you go. And so even something as simple as being really targeted with the way that we communicate and assign out work helps people better prioritize their day. They're generally more productive. I think all of our store managers that use Zenput would tell you that, coming from a pen and paper world or even other technology systems in the space, that's one of the big, most immediate impacts that we've had on their day-to-day. So they're more effective coachers. They have more time to interact with guests, and overall, more productive throughout the day. So with that, I know we're at time, so I will go ahead and give you guys time back in your day. There's a couple of other questions here that we can follow up directly with you guys. If you have any additional questions following today's session, or this was interesting and you'd like to kind of talk further about maybe some specific challenges you're having at the store level, or just broadly across the operations team and getting this work done, feel free to reach out to us. We'll place a link here for our requesting a demo. If you'd like more of a personalized demo, talking specifically about your environment, we'd be more than happy to set time up this week, next week, and in the future to chat through that. So feel free to use the link in the chat to connect to us for demos. We'll be happy to talk. But otherwise, I hope everyone has a really great rest of the day. Thank you again so much for joining us today. I hope this was helpful and hope you guys leave here with some good tips on how to make your teams a little more efficient at the store level.